Thank you for those of you who are here and have joined. We're really excited to start this series with you all. I'm very excited to introduce our expert guest speaker today. Rachell Johnson is going to give our presentation.
Thank you. My name is Rachell Johnson, and I'm here to talk to you about assistive technology today. I am the South Carolina Assistive Technology Program Manager, and that just means that in South Carolina, we have a federal AT Act program. Every state has one, and I manage the one for South Carolina. My background is in speech language pathology. I have 19 years of experience in that field. I was the former AT program manager for the DC, Maryland, and Virginia chapter of the ALS Association. And I've been specializing in finding AT solutions for all age groups. I say from twinkles to wrinkles. Since 2011 is when I made that career choice and change to focus on assistive tech. So what is assistive technology? Please stop me or unmute yourself if this video does not play the sound, but hopefully it will. It's a quick video.
We all like to do things, like color, and read, and use a computer. It's how we play, learn, work, and get things done. But when a disability makes it hard to do something we'd like to do, we need a little help. Luckily, there's a solution. Welcome to Simply Said, Understanding Assistive Technology. Assistive technology, or AT, is anything that helps you do something you couldn't do otherwise, like walk, run, communicate, and more. These helpful tools can be as simple as a foam grip that makes it possible for a child to grasp a crayon and create art, as common as glasses that make it possible for a student to read and learn, or as sophisticated as software that makes it possible for an employee to convert their spoken word to text on a computer screen and succeed. Whether you're young or old, male or female, whether you've had a disability from birth or developed one over the years, AT can help. Finding AT is easier than you might think. Every state has an Assistive Technology Act program to help you find AT.
Okay, so I love showing that video. It's a little bit older, but it really explains assistive technology well. It can be simply anything that's going to help you be more independent. Now, the law says that assistive technology is any item, piece of equipment, product, or system, whether it's commercially off the shelf, modified, or customized, to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of someone with a disability. So, what does all that mean? How can AT help? There are three words in that definition that really we should focus on, and that is that assistive technology is anything that's going to support the person in increasing function, maintaining function, or improving their function. And that is for all areas of life, right? So best practice when considering AT, consider AT as a team. Now, who's on your team? Well, that could be your medical team or educational team or both. So that could be a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, a speech therapist, a teacher, all of those people and the parent included, you're a team. And so getting input from everyone on the team is going to help you make the best decision about what assistive technology to try next. Using assistive technology as early as possible and never as the last resort is best practice. So you don't want to wait until we've tried all these other things and now we're going to try AT. No, AT should be the first thing that we're using and trying. Remember to consider AT as you're doing any type of transition planning. And transition planning, when you're a school-aged child, you hear that word thrown out, transition, and they're talking about transitioning from maybe high school to work. But transition can happen at any point in your life, right? It's just transitioning from one environment to another or a change of activity or pace. So considering the different types of AT you might need for different environments is going to be important. So we're just going to get right into what is AT and some examples. So for reading, And we're going to go low tech and high tech, right? Because AT can be low tech and it can be very high tech, but it doesn't have to be high tech all the time. So I thought I would show some examples of both. So we're going to start with reading. Low tech assistive technology for reading would be page flippers or a book holder, maybe an automatic or automated page turner. A page fluffer is anything that you can add in the book to make the pages kind of stand out apart and easier to turn the page. This book, and I'll show it to you again later, has ponytail holders as the page fluffer. This book has Velcro pieces, and so they're in every corner, just little Velcro squares, and you can tell that it made my book thicker but easier to turn the pages. But what if we couldn't even do that? You can take anything that is that the child can grasp with, if they have grasping capabilities, and you can turn it into a page turner. So that could be anything like we did a book project, adaptive book project, and we turned glow sticks, which are tubular, into a page turner. We've done lint rollers, which are tubular. This one is just a wiffle ball, and it has some Velcro on it. And now I have a page turner. So maybe I have this type of hand shape, and I can still grasp a ball. That's a perfect page turner for me. So it's all about using your imagination with low tech and really customizing something that's going to meet the need for where you're functioning at. Okay, we're going to go to high tech for reading. Some examples would include optical character recognition software, electronic books, any software that's going to do text to speech. So the written text is going to be spoken out loud. And there could also be text that or software that allows text to be changed in size or spacing or the color of the background on the screen. There could be text with pictures or symbols to go along with the words. So there's lots of different avenues for reading for high tech. Low tech for writing. When we're talking about writing, there's a motor component, right? The physical act of writing. And then there's a written composition component of writing, right? So we're going to go over the assistive technology for motor, and then we'll go back and do the written composition. So low tech for motor could be lined paper with different types of spacing. You can get different types of spacing in that lined paper. Modified pencils or pens with different grips on them. You can buy the kind that you slide on to the pen or pencil, but you could also have a completely modified pen or pencil that you wear, like a ring. There's something called a ring writer. You slide the pen and pencil in it, and you wear it as a ring, and then you're only using kind of forearm movement instead of a grasp. Universal cuffs can also help with writing utensils. And we're going to go into the high tech for motor. So there's voice recognition software. That's software that's going to speak as you, it's going to type as you speak. And we call that speech to text. There's digital note-taking software. There's note-taking pens, electronic worksheets, word processors that are going to help with the motor aspects of writing. For composition, low tech could be a graphic organizer, a writing template, a word wall, a writing outline. It could be also writing with symbols. For high tech, for composition, it could be different software writing supports that are within your word processing software. It could be word prediction software, what's pictured on the screen here. is a type of word prediction software where even if the person is misspelling, but they're kind of phonetically spelling, it's still predicting what they're trying to say. And that little word prediction box kind of follows them as they type. There's digital graphic organizers, and there's selection-based software. By selection-based software, that could mean the same concept as a word bank, but making it digital, making it auditory, and then also pictures if needed within that word bank. And then they're selecting kind of in a field or a choice from a word bank. All right, math. So low tech for math could be manipulatives, graphic organizers, graph paper, calculators. Large calculators with larger buttons may be easier to select. High tech for math could be digital math manipulatives, software that's especially designed for math. There could be speech to text software that actually writes math as math. If you just go into a regular speech to text on your phone and voice type or within Google, it's not going to show up as math, right? It's going to be typing out words. But there's software out there that will show it as math. And it's, on the screen digital math software. All right, let's talk about low tech for organization. That could be note-taking aids. It could be having a peer buddy. A highlighter could also help. Sticky notes, graphic organizers, visual cues, a visual schedule. Maybe we need that to know what's going to happen next. What's pictured here is a visual schedule. And then you can kind of set those up any way that meets the needs of the person you're working with or the child. So if it's very helpful to actually have the pictures go away, then you can set it up. You don't have to have a completed section. You can actually take off the schedule and put in an envelope or have a pocket on the back that the pictures go into if that's going to help with behavior or impulsiveness. But if it's okay to say we're sliding it over when we're done, that's how this one is pictured. So you can have it in any way that's going to help. Maybe having 5 things on the schedule is too much. Maybe you need first we're going to do this and then we get to do that. And so that would be a 2-picture schedule. High tech could be using those same concepts, but it's digital, it's on the screen, it's more dynamic. Sometimes with high tech, there's a timer built in. Sometimes there is a visual model or video model cue for the activity built within the software. So there's lots of different organizational visual schedule type software out there. All right, we're going to briefly talk about communication because communication is part of assistive technology. There are tools for that. It's probably the most popular type of assistive technology for many people who are struggling to communicate. And they think assistive technology, you think about communication tools. So low-tech communication tools can be a voice output device, a static one, which means that it's not dynamic, it's not a touch screen, it's not movable. This one pictured is a single message device. So there's just a single button and it makes a message. There are digitized voice output devices. That means there's a recorded voice, like mom or dad or teacher will record their voice. Communication boards and communication books are other forms of low-tech communication tools as well. And then I think I have, before we move on to higher tech, you can turn anything into a communication board. This was like a placemat, and someone turned this into a communication board for Play-Doh. So, you know, they put the pictures along the top so that the rest of the mat could be used for Play-Doh to actually do the activity on. But you could change the look of this. You can maybe put them along the side or along the bottom, wherever the range of motion is with the child. These are like really, really close together. And if you're having, if your child is struggling to point to one or two, maybe you don't need this many, maybe you need, or you could do the four corners and space it out a bit. So there's different ways you can design placemat communication boards. Let's see. There's partner assisted communication tools as well as low-tech eye gaze boards. And this is one. This is one with letters. It can have just pictures, but you would hold this up and kind of look at where they're looking. And so this takes a lot of partner communication work. A good communication partner, you have to kind of learn the tool first yourself before you use it. But I won't spend too much time on communication because I know that that's a topic for another time. But there's plenty of low-tech tools for communication. High-tech would be a dynamic voice output device. That means the screens change. They are synthesized voices, which is an electronic voice, not a recorded one. And communication devices that are high-tech will have multiple access methods, meaning I could use my hands to touch. I could use maybe an eye gaze bar. I could use a head tracking technology or switch scanning with switches, auditory scanning with switches to access the device. So those things turn a device into being more high-tech. Okay, for computer access, low-tech tools could be just an alternative mouse or an alternative keyboard. It could be an adaptive stylus because we know that a computer is not just your desktop. It could be a laptop or a tablet that you're trying to access, or an iPad screen. So having a stylus that maybe is adaptive, maybe it's something that you wear and not grasp with your hands. So I'll be able to show you some of those today as well. Accessibility settings and software within your own device that sometimes go unutilized because you don't know that they're there can also really help as a low-tech way of helping gain access to the computer. There's also keyboard navigation as well. For high-tech for computer access, there's head tracking technology. That is technology that's going to track your head as it moves. There's eye tracking technology. That's technology that's going to track your eyes. And those two things will translate into mouse movement on the screen. There's brain interface technology. I think about doing it and it happens. There's EMG switch technology, and that is those electrical signals that your brain sends to the muscle to move, and translating that into movement on the screen. There's power wheelchair using your joystick as the mouse is also a possibility. So that's more like Bluetooth technology. All right, we're going to talk about daily living. Low tech for daily living could be universal cuffs. Any type of holder. So like this person is wearing a cuff and the utensil is in the cuff. So then they're able to use their forearm movement to eat with their spoon. There's also modified eating utensils. There's modified grips. You can put tubing around the utensils to bulk it up if that helps. For dressing and grooming for daily living, there's magnetic clothing. There's no tie shoes, slip-on sneakers that can make life a little bit easier. For mid to high tech for daily living, it could be an appliance module, a switch operated device, and smart utensils and feeding robots are all high tech things. So appliance module can look like this. See if I can grab one for you. So it can look like this. The appliance plugs into it, and then there could be a switch that could operate the appliance. So let's say you want to bake cookies, and you want them to have a turn at mixing it up with the mixer, or you're doing something with a blender, and they have their chance to use it. So the appliance would be plugged into here, and then a switch, which the child can use by just the push of a button. But there are many different types of switches out there, which at the end I'm going to show you some. But here's one that's just a big red button that's very sensitive. And remember, with switches, they can be accessed with all different body points. So it doesn't have to be necessarily your hands that access the switch to make the thing happen. Okay, so we're going to talk about vision very briefly. Low-tech assistive technology for vision could be eyeglasses. It could be large print, a handheld magnifier, bold raised line paper. There could be a handwriting guide that helps keep you on the line. High contrast, such as this keyboard here is in bright high contrast. It could be a large button keyboard. High tech for vision could be smart canes and magnifiers, large reading technology such as CCTVs, and a screen reading technology. It could be reading pens, text to speech hardware or software, and that's a device that's going to read the text out loud. Now there's hardware, but for vision, if you don't have a vision disorder and you would like to use some of that same hardware type of technology that's going to read a book to you, or read something out loud, those can get quite expensive. So using the software instead might be more cost effective, and there might be more tools that are readily available for younger children, or for K through 12. So we'll talk about that. I believe one person wanted some resources for that, and who sent their question in early. So we'll talk about that at the end. So we're going to go to hearing. Low tech for hearing could be sign language. It could be using an amplifier. It could be pen and paper, a smartphone app that might help with hearing what amplify what's happening in the environment. AT for hearing high tech could be an FM system, a loop system, closed captioning, real-time captions. FM systems are basically larger scale amplifiers, but they are amplified directly to the person. There are amplifiers that could amplify to the whole room and make something louder. But if you're going to amplify something for the individual person, a personal amplifier or a personal FM system would take directly what the speaker is saying into the mic directly to the device that's nearest the child. All right, assistive technology for mobility, low tech would be a manual wheelchair. It could be a reacher or a grabber bar. It could be handles and grips that are going to help with some things around the house or doors. There's even key turners that kind of help with opening a door that normally would have a key. Higher tech for mobility could be a power wheelchair. It could be robotics. It could be a robotic arm. This particular robot here is a virtual stand-in robot that's pictured. And that just means, you know, maybe there's a field trip and my child can't participate, but we can log in and still go on that field trip with a virtual robot such as this, and still be able to see and interact with everyone there. All right, so we made it to the end about the different areas of assistive technology. I'm not going to go into ATAC programs, but I will just say a little bit about the program that I work for. And again, if you are a U.S. resident, there is a center like mine or services like mine in every state and U.S. territory. And what we have, our core services are device demonstrations, device loans. That means try out a device before you buy it. It's really important if you can borrow it from somewhere first to try it out, or go and have it demonstrated so that you know how to use it before buying it. Reuse, which means we get gently used assistive technology equipment. We sanitize it and clean it up and give it back out to people for free. And then we also provide technical assistance and training to families, centers, schools, and other service organizations in our state. So that's a little bit about what I do. I'm not going to take you on the virtual tour because I want to open this up for questions, but I also want to show you some of the things to a little bit more about. Us brought some switches to show, and any other question that maybe I didn't highlight as much, or something you would like to see up close. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the PowerPoint. Stop sharing. Okay, so let's see. Oh, okay. So when I will hold up the things higher, and I'll be able to see myself now too, because I couldn't see myself before. Okay, so all right, looking to see if there's any questions.
And feel free to go ahead and do your device demonstration. We are also moderating the questions on our end, so I'll be able to ask those to you.
Okay, awesome. All right, so I'll just start back with the adaptive book ones. I'm going to start from where I had before. So this one is a book that has been adapted with page flippers that are ponytail holders. And then you can see that it made the book more wider and easier to get in between the pages. Now, I probably would have done this with a wider ponytail holder. It looks like they cut them in half, but maybe they were small to begin with. But if you had just a little bit wider one, you could have done more of a like half moon shape, and then that would have been enough to even hook your finger into. But this serves the purpose of fluffing the page. Here is another example that I showed. This particular book has a Velcro square in all the corners. You can see it made my page is really fluffed up. It's easier for me to turn the page and get my hands in there. But if you didn't have that ability, you could use the Velcro with a tool as a page turner. So I had said we had used glow sticks, and we wrapped the Velcro around the tubular part, and then the child could grasp and turn. We also used a lint roller and without the roll on it to do that. But the example that I showed was a wiffle ball here. And you can see we have Velcro all over it. And now I can hold it up, use it to turn the page like that. You know, and it's not gonna tear. I probably, if impulsiveness might make it, you worry about tearing the pages of the book, maybe using the books that have the harder pages to do that with, or change up the tool if you need to. Okay, so then I talked about a communication, making your own communication tools. So this one is a placemat that they use for Play-Doh, and they just put the Play-Doh pictures and choices, like I want Play-Doh, or I want more, I want a different color. But you can design this any way that you want. You have the whole mat. So maybe spacing them out if touching is a problem, or using the four corners, or something along the side or down below, as opposed to all the way at the top if you're dealing with like a limited range of motion. Okay, and then I showed an eye gaze board here. So you're looking at as the person that you're talking with, you're the communication partner, and you're looking at where they're looking. So if they look towards the top right corner, on the back side, you're able to see the exact mirror image, or the same image as what they're looking at. So not the mirror image, because it's not flipped. So you're looking at exactly what they're looking at. So it doesn't have to be letters. This particular one is letters, but it can be pictures instead. But this is a form of partner-assisted scanning or partner-assisted communication. There is something called partner-assisted scanning that is a whole different ballgame, and maybe the next time I come and speak, when it's all about communication, I will go over the difference between a tool like what I just showed you versus what partner-assisted scanning could look like, okay? So we talked a little bit about switches and appliance modules. So I'm going to hold up this appliance module here. So this one is an older one by AbleNet. The appliances get plugged in. You can plug in two different ones. And so once the appliances are plugged in, you can use a switch to turn on and off the appliance, or to make it go, so to speak. So I gave the example of cooking with mom. We're making cookies and we want to use the mixer. You can plug the mixer into here. This other end goes into your outlet, and then the switch can now turn the mixer on and off. Or it's the blender. Maybe you're making a smoothie. It's smoothie time. So you can turn the blender on and off, and have fun with cooking. And it's a cause and effect activity, but it's also a participation in a life skill activity that you can do together. Now, when I talked about switches, I held one up and, oh, here it is. And I said, this is probably the kind, if you've seen a switch before, you've probably seen something like a big red switch. It's very sensitive to push. It doesn't have to be your hands, though, that operate it. It could be any part of your body. So that's something important to think about with switches. Also, it's important to know whether you're using the switch for something like a daily living skill, like cooking, or you're using it for cause and effect, or recreation and play, like a switch adaptive toy. Or you could be using the switch to control and navigate your computer or communication device. So no matter what you're using the switch for, please know that there's different types of switches, right? They don't all look like this. And you can find the best one that works for your child. And sometimes, as our abilities change over time, we have to change the type of switch we're using. So that one was called like the Big Red by AbleNet. It's a big red jelly bean switch. This one is a buddy button. Okay. So what is the difference? So this one, you can see it's kind of sitting up higher on a plate. And there's space. You really probably can't see that, but there's space. I can even get my whole nail in the space, right? This one, there's hardly any space there, right? The switch is kind of right on top. The difference is in pressure, the amount of pressure that it takes to squeeze. Now, sometimes the pressure is very minimal difference from what you and I feel like it could be. But for someone with a disability, changing that pressure, it can just open up a whole world to them. So try different switches with different types of pressure to find out what works. Here's another one. Now this one looks really different, right? Well, this one vibrates and the pressure is a little bit different. And it's textured so I can feel it, okay? So maybe I need that sensory input. Maybe a smooth button isn't anything I'm gonna go for, but I'm attracted to something I can feel. So try something different. And again, and the usually you can turn things on and off, like maybe the vibration you could turn off if that's not something they are like, but you could turn it on if they need it. And then here's a couple of different ones that you don't even have to touch. These are proximity switches. You just have to get nearby. So if I turn it on, and so I'm not touching it, I'm just near. I'm breaking an invisible beam of light. I'm gonna turn that one off. I'm gonna turn on the small one if I can, if I have enough battery. This one's been out so many times, very popular. Okay. So I can even operate this one with my cheek by smiling. Okay. So you don't have to have movement for proximity switches. You just are not like a pressure point. You have to have a little bit of movement in a muscle group to activate it, but it can just be no pressure at all. Okay. So there's plenty of things that you can adapt other than toys. Toys are the most popular item, right? Because they're fun. But maybe you want to adapt something that makes life a little bit easier. Maybe they get hot and they want to turn the fan on and off. Well, a fan can be switch adapted. This one, I have a little button by it and it just turns the fan on and off. And you probably can't see that movement there. If I turn it a little bit, you can kind of see when it stops moving. All right, so and then here's another idea. This is a switch adapted scissors. So the idea, you might have to help guide the paper in there for the child, but the switch, they would be pushing the switch to operate the cutting part. So anyway, those are just some things that examples of how you can use a switch. Now there is some different adaptive tools for using the computer that I did not get to show. So I talked about wearable, like a wearable mouse, or so I'm gonna go grab a couple of those. I'm just walking, you probably can see where I'm going. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, so I just grabbed a couple. There's so many different types of computer access. I could probably be here all day, but this is one that's wearable. So it's bendable and you can bend it, and it's called the caduceus, like the medical caduceus, because it's bendable and you can do it in any hand shape. And now I'm still just using my forearm movement, but I don't actually have to hold this or grasp it. I can completely twist it around in any way and can still activate the screen or the touch screen that way. So, and then I can, this looks like a very long straw that's completely bendable. This particular one is a finger mouse. So I wear it like a ring and I use my thumb movement to operate the mouse, clicking and scrolling. So there's so many different options for that as well. All right, so let's get into questions. Go ahead and start throwing them at me.
Absolutely. And while you are on some demonstrations here, we did have a question about tools that you may have to support, like holding crayons or markers or any kind of art tools. If you have any of those you'd like to share about.
Yes. It might just be easier if I pull them up online because I know we're or push for time. So easy holds, I think are quite popular and they're also inexpensive. So I'm just gonna quickly share my screen and pull these up for you. Okay, and they're spelled EZAY holds, I think,
Okay.
or EAZY. And you can buy them off of Amazon. You can use them. Hopefully this pictures are coming in clear enough. So there's the pink one here. There's a crayon. So the idea is you create this loop and the hand goes inside and now we just have the forearm movement, but we don't have to grasp. You could do this with spoons and forks and markers. You could do it with your toothbrush or a hairbrush. So there's plenty of ideas and uses. We do have those in our learner program if you live in South Carolina, but also they're inexpensive on this website, but they're also inexpensive on Amazon as well. Okay. Another idea for holding, I mentioned it during my presentation. It was called a ring rider. A ring rider clip looks like this. So it would work for like a colored pencil or a pen or pencil. Or a paintbrush, and you wear it like a ring, and then the writing utensil snaps into it like that. You can also get those off of Amazon very inexpensively, but other types of AT vendors sell them as well. This one is called a ring writing pen. So let me see if I can ring writing pen. So you can kind of see that the pen or pencil or colored pencil could go into the device and you still are wearing it like a ring. And it prevents that if we don't have any finger grasping capabilities, you're wearing the writing utensil. So hopefully that gives you a few affordable options that you could just go out and try yourself. But if you did live in South Carolina, we do have these to borrow in our loan closet.
Have any other online recommendations that you could share with me that I could share with our chat afterwards about, any online stores aside from Amazon that you would recommend?
Aside from Amazon, we sometimes get materials from Maxi Aids. Arthritis Supplies apparently has this. I didn't know that they sell the ring writing pen. I've never ordered from them, but I would say you just look up the product. As long as you know the name of the product, then you should be able to find different stores that sell it. So like I looked up ring writing pen and all of these stores selling it. And of course, Amazon seems to be the most inexpensive, but you can kind of see that the pricing as well. And then you might find some therapeutic stores as well online that would be selling these items.
So we have some other questions about some of the things you shared. Going back to the book that you had with the page fluffing with the hair ties, how do you attach those hair ties?
So we glued them in with a hot glue gun. And every year we have an adaptive book workshop in the spring where we invite the whole state to participate. Oh, and I want to make sure you guys are still there, so I'm going to stop sharing. So, okay, we invite the whole state to participate, and we teach people, parents, clinicians, and teachers how to adapt books. And then we also give out the book kits for free when we're done. So the ponytail holders is one thing that you could use, but there's so many things that make a page fluffer. Another fun thing to use is pom-poms, which are kind of small and round, and those work well with hot glue as well.
Okay. Yeah, and I also will throw out there when I was still teaching, we used sponges. We cut sponges, glued them on popsicle sticks, and then put those in pages for a longer or wider option too. So there's lots of
Yes.
those getting creative options that are out there. Okay, so
Yes.
we have another question here about the AT program under IDEA. Does it have an upper age limit or any income requirements, or is it open to all?
Okay, so under IDEA, which is for schools like K through 12, like in the education system, that's a law pertaining to education. Um, Assistive technology is for all ages. So, and it's not just K through 12 because in most states, you can go to school beyond the age of 18 or 17. So in South Carolina is to 21. So any age group that's still in the school would be utilizing and have access to assistive technology devices and services. So remember that in an IEP, assistive technology refers to both the device and the service. And I love to come back when you're doing a seminar on IEPs and go over all of that as well.
We would love that. So for outside of the school setting, are there any requirements there to access your AT programs?
Okay, so no. Outside of the school, like for adults, there aren't any requirements. We just, to access our services, you have to be a person with a disability or working with or the family member of someone with a disability. And that would go for any AT Act program federally, nationally. That would be the guiding principle of who gets to benefit from the program.
Great, thank you for that. That's good to know. Some families, may want to try these privately and not with their school or for a faster turnaround on getting devices. So we did have a question and then also a comment relating to this. We had a question about voice banking. What is it? How do we do it? And then we also had a comment that we have someone here who has experience using a Tobii Dynavox and using their child's voice as the recorded output. Do you have any input on voice banking?
Yes. So voice banking, there's two different types if you're thinking of what it means or the definition. There's message banking, and that's where I'm recording individual messages in my own voice, or someone else, a family member could also be that voice, making individual recordings of messages. So I'm hungry, or I want to go to the store, I want to play my favorite game. And I'm just recording those sentences that are going to be programmed to a button that I push later and that'll speak my sentence. That's message banking. That's a type of voice banking. The other type of voice banking is creating a synthesized voice. So, hey Siri or hey Google or hey Alexa. I don't want to wake my devices up back here. They might start talking to me. So when, those voices were created, right? They spent a lot of time and a lot of technology went into the formation of those voices. So that's called creating a synthesized voice. And that's the other type of voice banking. It's where you are recording sometimes hundreds of nonsense words or sentences where they will compose or compile all the sounds that you have recorded to create a synthesized voice. It's kind of like your voice turned into a robot. So that's how I would describe it. A lot of people think that when I go in to make my own voice like that, it's not going to sound robotic. They want to do it because it doesn't sound robotic, but that's misleading. It really sounds like you turned into a robot. So it still is going to sound robotic. Maybe in the future, they'll even have better quality where it doesn't sound as robotic, but it still sounds a little robotic.
Great. Okay, another question we have here. So children with Sanfilippo that can have that extreme hyperactivity when it comes to communication aids or high tech, do you have any like sturdy recommendations? Because for example, an iPad can just be thrown to the ground, repeatedly, even when they have those cases on them.
Okay, so Now this is going to maybe not be so effective for like traveling around, but if you wanting to do things with the iPad in your stationary, the best thing would probably be to have it mounted because it's going to keep it secure and they're not going to be able to take it off of the mount. So mounts come in different sizes and shapes, but if you're at like a kitchen table or a desk, the kind that I would get would be a desk clamp mount because it'll clamp to that table, but you could also remove it easily for later if you're going to be at a different table. So a desk clamp mount for a tablet or iPad is what I would go with. There are some that are a little bit more inexpensive than others. However, they might not be as sturdy. So I like the clamps for modular hose. However, because it's modular and it's that flexible tubing, it may not be as sturdy for someone who's impulsive. So you may want a more rigid looking one versus the modular ones.
I think, let's see, we have time for one more question. Is there a place, since we know our families, there's probably people in the chat from all over the country, if not all over the world, is there a place in the US where they can go, a website that has all of these AT programs where they could find their own state?
Yes, I was actually thinking about that when the last question that someone asked about the qualifications. I was like, I need to pull up that website. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen again. All right, so I'm going to go to a tab. Okay, so ATAP stands for the Association of Assistive Technology Act programs. You could also go to the AT3 Center, which is probably easier to navigate for what you want. So I would say go to AT3 Center, and that's kind of easier maybe to remember, AT3 Center. Once you're there, right away, the first thing you see is find an AT Act program, and that's what you need. All the states here are listed, including all of the US territories. So if you're in the Virgin Islands, there's something for you. If you're in Texas, there's something for you. So you'll get the phone number, you'll get an email and their website. And you also will get the contact person for the different programs that that state offers. Okay, so here's South Carolina. I'm the program director. Nationally, we're known as program directors, and then at my individual job, I'm known as a program manager. But nationally, we're known as program directors. And then you kind of see who's in charge of what, or who's the contact person for different parts of the program. And not every state has a financial loan program associated with their AT Act program. In South Carolina, we do have a AT financial loan program. It is separate than ours, and we would give you that information if you called for it. But you can see that some other states do have a financial loan program for AT associated with their program.
So no, yeah, we'll take these websites and all of the other resources, and we'll put them all together for all of our attendees today and anyone else that may be interested later. And all of the other unanswered questions, we will compile them, answer them, and get them all out to you. We're right at 11 o'clock right now. So before we leave today, I do want to share quickly our next session will be in July for Sanfilippo Speak. It will be about durable medical equipment. Think strollers, think standers, all of that equipment. And we have Seth Downey here from Pediatric Mobility, who will be our expert guest speaker. I am confident he will do as great of a job as Ms. Johnson did today. And that will be on July 30th at 2 p.m. Eastern. We're very excited about that. Thank you so much, Ms. Johnson, for speaking with us today. We really appreciate all the work you do and the support that you have for us.